Attention passionate Cleveland, Browns fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Cleveland Browns' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Cleveland Browns fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Cleveland, Browns fans. Let's get to the news now, folks. If you've been paying attention to the NFL landscape lately, you know that the Cleveland Browns are a team that's been stirring the pot, even after a tough 3-14 season that left many fans and analysts questioning the team's future. But as always, the Browns are not just sitting idly by, they're making moves, and there's a lot to unpack here. You see, when a team finishes with a record like that, the natural instinct might be to rebuild, to reset, to aim for some kind of redemption in the next season. But the Browns, under the leadership of GM Andrew Berry, are trying something different. They're trying to stay aggressive, trying to find those pieces that can turn them from a struggling team into a playoff contender or even a Super Bowl contender. One of the most important pieces that they've managed to secure recently is the re-signing of Myles Garrett. For those of you who follow the Browns closely, you know what Garrett means to this defense. He's not just a star pass rusher, he's the heartbeat of the Cleveland defense, a player who can change the game single-handedly. His presence on the line, his ability to get to the quarterback, and his leadership both on and off the field are invaluable. Re-signing Garrett signals that the Browns are serious about building a strong, disruptive defense that can keep them competitive in the AFC North, which, as we all know, is one of the toughest divisions in football. And it's not just about defense. The Browns are also making moves on offense, trying to inject some new life into a unit that struggled mightily last year. They've brought in a crop of promising rookies, and I mean promising. You've got Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson, two young running backs who have shown flashes of brilliance in college and are eager to prove their worth in the NFL. Judkins, coming out of Ole Miss, is known for his agility and vision, while Dylan Sampson from Tennessee brings speed and explosiveness. These guys could be game changers, especially in a system that's looking to diversify its attack and keep defenses guessing. At tight end, Harold Fannin Jr. has been turning heads during offseason workouts. He's a young player with a lot of potential, and if he can develop chemistry with the quarterbacks, he could become a reliable target in the middle of the field. Speaking of quarterbacks, the Browns have an interesting situation there. They've got Dylan Gabriel, a talented young QB with a strong arm and good mobility, and Shedeur Sanders, the top prospect out of Colorado, who's been impressing scouts with his arm strength and leadership skills. Plus, they've got Kenny Pickett, the Pittsburgh native who's been working diligently to earn his spot, and veteran Joe Flacco, who brings veteran savvy and leadership to the room. It's a mix of youth and experience, and that's exactly what you want when trying to build a competitive roster. But here's where it gets really interesting. The Browns aren't just content with what they have, they're looking to make a splash. And I mean a real splash. You see, there's been buzz around the league about Cleveland's interest in acquiring a top-tier wide receiver. A guy that can instantly elevate their offense, give the quarterbacks a reliable target, and stretch the field. And that's where the story gets fascinating. According to NFL insider Albert Breer, the Browns made a serious move by reaching out to the New Orleans Saints about Chris Olave. That's right, Olave, the former Ohio State star, the guy who, in his second NFL season, surpassed 100 receiving yards and scored 5 touchdowns. A guy who's shown he can be a true game changer. Now, why would Cleveland be interested in Olave? Well, it's simple. Olave is a young, dynamic receiver with Pro Bowl talent, and he's just entering the prime of his career. The Browns see that potential and understand that adding someone like Olave could instantly transform their passing game. Imagine pairing him with the emerging talents like Jerry Jeudy or David Njoku, and suddenly, the offense that struggled to find consistency last year could become a high-powered attack. That kind of weapon can open up the entire field, create mismatches, and help take some pressure off the quarterbacks. But here's the kicker. The Saints, it seems, have rebuffed calls from both Cleveland and Pittsburgh earlier this offseason. According to Breer, the Saints received inquiries from multiple teams, but they shook their heads. They're not interested in moving Olave easily, and if you think about it, that makes sense. Olave is their first-round pick from 2022, he's a cornerstone for their offense, and they've already picked up his fifth-year option for $5 million. Giving up such a key player would be a gamble, especially after a season where Olave was arguably their best offensive weapon. Still, the Browns' interest is genuine. They made the first call and they should keep trying. Why? Because Olave in 2023 showed exactly what he's capable of. Over 100 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns, and consistently making big plays down the field. The Browns, with their new and improved offense, could really use a player like that. Think about it. If Cleveland could snag Olave on the cheap after a bit of a down year and pair him with a quarterback like Dillon Gabriel or even Shedeur Sanders, you're talking about a potential offensive explosion. That's what the Browns need to move from being a team that barely missed the playoffs last season to a legitimate playoff contender. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Wait, are they really going to trade Olave? Well, it's not a straightforward yes or no. The Saints are in rebuild mode with Derek Carr now leading the offense, and they might be tempted to shake things up. If the right offer comes along, maybe they'll consider it. But Breer's report suggests that, at this point, Olave isn't on the market. Still, the Browns should keep calling, keep negotiating, because sometimes, a team's willingness to listen can be the difference. The NFL is all about those small margins, those little negotiations that can change a franchise's fate. And let's not forget, Cleveland's front office has shown that they're not afraid to make bold moves. Last year, they traded for Deshaun Watson, giving up significant assets to land a franchise quarterback. That move was controversial at the time, but it signaled Cleveland's seriousness about contending. Now, with that foundation in place, they're looking to add more pieces, players who can make a real difference. Olave could be one of those pieces, a true game changer who could tilt the scales in their favor. So, what does all of this mean for Browns fans? It's simple: things are heating up. The team is not just sitting back and hoping for the best. They're actively trying to improve, trying to find those secret weapons that can push them over the edge. The combination of a solid draft class, strategic re-signings like Garrett, and the potential pursuit of a star receiver like Olave shows that Cleveland is serious about competing in 2024 and beyond. They're betting on their young quarterbacks, on their defense, and on making bold moves to turn the page from last year's nightmare to a new chapter of success. And for fans, this is the exciting part. The NFL offseason is always filled with possibilities, and the Browns are right there in the thick of it. They have the cap space, the draft capital, and the determination to make some noise. Whether they actually pull off a trade for Olave or not, the message is clear: they're in it to win it. They want to be a team that makes headlines, that surprises everyone, and that surprises themselves by becoming a true playoff force. So keep your eyes peeled because the Browns aren't done yet. This offseason might just be the beginning of a new era for Cleveland football. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Cleveland Browns news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. Looking ahead, Browns fans, the big question now is, what's next? Will Cleveland make a formal push for Olave or other top-tier receivers? Could they find a way to sweeten the deal that makes the Saints reconsider? Or perhaps they'll pivot and look at other options in free agency or the draft. But one thing is for sure, the team is setting itself up to be more aggressive than ever. The NFL is a league of stars, and Cleveland is clearly trying to bring in some of those stars to light up their offense. The defense is already solid, especially with Garrett anchoring the line, but offense was where they struggled last year. Adding a player like Olave or a comparable star would be a game changer, a true difference maker on the field. Imagine the possibilities: Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders throwing to Olave down the sideline, drawing double coverage, freeing up Judy or Njoku underneath, and giving Cleveland a potent, multi-dimensional attack. That's the kind of offensive explosion Browns fans have been dreaming of. It would not only boost their chances of making the playoffs, but could also position them as real contenders in the AFC once again. The AFC North is brutal, with teams like the Ravens, Bengals, and Steelers all ready to duke it out. But Cleveland's willingness to make bold moves could finally give them the edge they need. And let's talk about the bigger picture. The AFC is loaded with talent, and Cleveland knows they have to be aggressive if they want to stay competitive long-term. The Steelers, with Kenny Pickett and their veteran roster, are always in the mix. The Bengals, led by Joe Burrow, are a powerhouse. The Ravens, with Lamar Jackson potentially returning to form, are always dangerous. So Cleveland's strategy has to be about stacking the deck with talent, with proven playmakers who can change the game in an instant. Their interest in Olave is just one example of how they're trying to do exactly that. The Browns' history is full of ups and downs, but this offseason feels different. There's a sense of purpose, a clear intent to build a team that can compete for the postseason, possibly even a Super Bowl. It's about setting a foundation, keeping key players like Garrett, adding young talent, and trying to make those bold, strategic moves that can elevate the entire franchise. It's a long road, sure, but Browns fans have every reason to be optimistic. The pieces are starting to come together, and the offseason isn't even over yet. We could see some more surprises, more big trades, or even some unexpected signings. At the end of the day, Cleveland's front office is showing that they're willing to do what it takes. They're not just hoping for a turnaround, they're actively working toward it. The excitement for the upcoming season is building, and Browns fans should be proud of the direction the team is headed. The potential is there, the hunger is real, and the desire to succeed is stronger than ever. Keep your eyes open, because this offseason could be the turning point for Cleveland Browns football. And I promise I'll be here to keep you updated every step of the way. And now, Cleveland Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on all of this? Do you think the Browns should push harder to acquire Olave, or are there other targets you're more excited about? Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Cleveland Browns. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Cleveland Browns news. Thanks for being with me today, and as always, go Browns!